Good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's BullCharts User Group webinar. We're getting underway. And please remember the disclaimer. No information presented tonight is advice of any sort. It's only opinion and it should not be acted upon. You should seek the advice of a professional if you choose to participate in the market. This is the agenda for last week's Melbourne meeting and for tonight. And the plan is to talk about BullCharts templates. There's a segment there for BullCharts tips, exploring BullCharts features. The current version, as I understand it, is still 5.1.133. If you've got a recent version, maybe 5.1.124 or thereabouts, it's probably still pretty good and it's not worth updating unless you've got a problem. Now, last week in the Melbourne meeting, I've shared already the summary notes, I call them meeting minutes, of the session we had in the Matthew Flinders Hotel in Chadstone last Tuesday. There were 5 of us in attendance there. And I made a point of noting that the user group 20th birthday will be celebrated in the August meetings. We had a discussion last week about templates, and we'll go over all of that in detail shortly. But there's some summary notes in the minutes there, including the document that I had in the agenda that shows 2 sample BullCharts templates, 2 of mine that I use every week. Also in the minutes is a screenshot of a portion of the Template Toolbar showing 5 red-coloured toolbar buttons, and we'll talk about those shortly. I also, in the minutes and last week, showed this portion of my Template Toolbar with the number of templates that I use weekly, and I'll go through those tonight and show you those. And here's a list of what they are. I've labelled them on my toolbar, W1, W for weekly, W1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and here is a list of what they are. And I'll briefly talk about them tonight, or feel free to refer to this minutes document. Last week, I also talked about the default template and how to customize the default template and the template toolbar. And we talked about BullCharts workspaces, because a couple of templates together, or more than 2, can comprise a BullCharts workspace that you can save. We talked briefly about the share trading game, but no one in the Melbourne meeting was interested. There's a section here in the minutes about a problem that Ilya had during the month, where his scans were one day running a lot longer than normal, and applying an indicator to a price chart was taking a lot longer than normal. He promptly, as he does, contacted Brendan on the support desk, BullCharts support in Sydney, and Brendan's solution was to delete the ASX database and download it again from the BullCharts downloads page. Of course, to do that, as most of you know, you need to know your BullCharts data user login, the one that goes into your data access screen. That fixed the problem. Our conclusion was that Ilya must have had some sort of corrupt database, and someone in the session, might have been Kevin or Des, suggested that he has found, with the BullCharts data download running and this extra tick box ticked, clear and rebuild tables, he has never had that sort of problem. And our guess was that in Ilya's case, maybe it was a corrupt table or index for a table, and that ticking that box ongoing might have avoided that problem for him. Anyway, it's now fixed.
Yeah, Robert, I support that comment, because I remember Brendan recommended to me that I leave that ticked all the time, and I've never had any issues with that.
All right, Alec, thank you for the feedback. That's good. Also the session last week, Elliot talked about a particular candle pattern that he has found useful, the inverted hammer, as shown on that screenshot. It's almost a graveyard doji with a very small body and a very long upper shadow. Sometimes some of the things that are said in our Melbourne meeting, some of the rest of us don't really understand how useful they are, but some people have their own very particular trading strategy. And Ilya has found some way to utilize that particular candle pattern. So he likes using it and trading based on it. I think what Ilya said, that if he finds that candle, it indicates a likely shorting possibility to go short on a stock for the next day. Ilya also said that he short stocks around their ex-dividend date. He's observed that a lot of stocks do fall on their ex-dividend date, and they fall by more than their dividend amount, plus the franking credit. So that's something he's been doing lately. And I'm not recommending you do this, and I'm not saying that it works. If you're interested in something like this, you need to investigate and trial it yourself. But what Ilya has been doing is finding the stocks that seem to have a good dividend and going short the day before ex-div. In the discussion that we had last week about dividends and ETFs, something came up about that and it triggered us to do a Google search for which Australian ETFs look for dividend-paying stocks. And we found three that came up in the Google Gemini AI response. And these three ETFs, based on the descriptions that the Google AI Gemini response produced, these three ETFs invest in supposedly quality companies with high dividend yields. And that's something that you might want to have a look at. If you're interested in trading ETFs and looking for income, especially monthly or maybe quarterly income. On the agenda for this month, the plan was to have a good look at BullCharts templates in a lot of detail and explain as much as we can about the templates. Now, some of what I'm about to show you and talk about is fairly basic. Some of it is not. In amongst it, some of what we're going to talk about might be refresher material for some, or maybe snippets of things that you've missed. So please bear with us. Let me start by saying that, and I'll just collapse up here. Security Manager. So templates. With a standard BullCharts installation, we get 5 default or supplied templates, and these are supplied for a couple of reasons, primarily so that people who are new to BullCharts can see some examples of some of the terminology and how to use BullCharts, and also samples of some trading systems or setups that can help with having a trading system. So right down in the very bottom left corner of my screen is the left end of my template toolbar, and the 3 red labels are the supplied templates. The first one there, if I hover the mouse cursor over it, PLA, the little tool tip that box that pops up says plain. So when I click on that, what I'm seeing here is supposedly a plain price chart. So, and this hasn't changed. This has been in BullCharts for goodness knows, maybe 20 years. A plain price chart here is a daily chart. In the top left corner, we can see the little D for daily, and we can see the open, high, low, close bars. And in the bottom pane, we do have volume. Now, I'm not sure why the volume pane does not have a header on it. It should have a pane header or a title bar. And if I right click, I should be able to turn it on. Show what volume is shown. What we want is pane properties. It's the bottom option, pane properties. Show pane title bar. Apply. So there's the pane title bar. So that's that first red toolbar button. The second one there, second red one, BL, is labeled inverse, inverse or black. And it's simply showing you that one of the things we can do with bull charts is change the color of the background. And you can do that by simply right-clicking on the screen somewhere and again go to pane properties and choose background color. If you don't like black, you can change your color to something else. Maybe that's not a good one. Dark blue maybe. And if you're happy with that, you can then save that as a template and have that applied every time you want to have a look at a new price chart. But that's that second toolbar button, the second red one, BL, that's supplied with bull charts. The third one, VPT, is the Berg Volatility Profit Taker. So that's got, again, the open, high, low, close bars, plus Jim Berg's Volatility Profit Taker indicator. There are the properties of that indicator. You can change those if you want. And a part of Jim Berg's strategy, if you're familiar with it, is as down in the bottom pane here, we've got RSI based on closing price, but calculated over 7 periods. Now, the default RSI, if I remember rightly, is 14. But in Jim Berg's strategy, he uses RSI 7. And there's also across the bottom here a toolbar. And if I right click, it tells me that that's the JB Volatility Profit Taker ribbon properties. Did I say toolbar? That's the ribbon. The Volatility Profit Taker ribbon. And that coincides with the price and where it is in the indicator. The next one here on the toolbar, the template toolbar, have the little tooltip that pops up, says hull, as in Allen Hull, act vest. And this is the range plus indicator. I need to double click here. Hull's act vest, not act trade. It's his act vest range plus indicator. And in the upper pane is the have raw, Allen Hull's act vest raw rate of annual change indicator. And down the bottom is another ribbon. I should turn I usually turn my toolbar pop up. It's over in the other window. Bear with me a minute while I retrieve it. It's hiding. There it is. The preferences. I've got my show chart tooltips when moving mouse over it. I've always have that turned off. I'll turn that on. There we go. Through top cannot be loaded. That's okay. Now down here, hover the mouse, and the little pop-up tooltip tells us it's the ActVest Range Plus ribbon. The last one here, the fifth one, the red toolbar button, TC. If I hover the mouse, it's labeled the Weinstein, I can never remember. Weinstein triple confirmation. If you're familiar with Stan Weinstein's triple confirmation strategy, you might know that he uses a weekly price chart, weekly data. Now, this chart has open, high, low, close bars again. And the blue line here is a weekly moving average. And it's based on closing price, and it's a simple MA over 30 periods. And it says that up here in the title bar for that pane, 30 period moving average. In the very top is hover the mouse here, it's the relative strength comparison and it's normalized. Now, don't ask me exactly what that is, but that must be a part of Weinstein's triple confirmation strategy. And down the bottom, there is another ribbon. This time, it's the stage analysis based on Weinstein's writings in his book. In tips, is it called tips for profiting in bull and bear markets? So those are the 5 supplied toolbar templates, the red ones.
Robert, David here. I've lost a couple of those. Are they available on the BullCharts site or not? I mean, it's not. I've lost the Weinstein one. I don't know. Must have deleted it at some stage. Don't know why, but anyway. So is it available on the BullCharts site, or have I got to go back and reload everything?
David, there's 2 parts in the answer to that one. I'm just thinking about which one to talk about first, because one of those is to have a look at the toolbar definition, customize the toolbar, and see if it's available in the drop-down list.
Righto, yeah.
Now, I'll do that in just a minute. But the other thing that is worth noting for some of perhaps the advanced users are that each of these templates is stored as a discrete file on your hard drive. So just because it's not on the toolbar doesn't mean that it's deleted off the computer. It might still be there.
Righto.
Now, how do we find out if it's still on the computer? If you go to your tools, menu tools, preferences,
Yep.
And then in the preferences dialog box, the very last tab is called files.
Yeah, righto. Yeah.
And the second entry there is templates. And it shows you the path to go to where all of the templates are stored. But there's a link there to click on view location.
Yeah.
So if you click on view location.
Yeah, righto. Yeah.
It's on my screen here.
I found it already. You're right. Yep. Answer the question.
2 things. 2 things? No, only 1 thing. Yes. All the templates are listed there. And each is a little file, a .bct file. Now, your Windows Explorer might not show the file type, .bct. I can sort this list by date modified. And you'll see that some of the oldest ones are dated 2006 or 7.
Yep.
Now, when I created those, I called them RB for me, _ so I knew they were mine. Now, on my system, is that one listed there somewhere? There it is. Right there. 2009 as the data was modified. So if it is there, then all you've got to do is customize your toolbar. And that's the next thing to talk about. So watch carefully. There's 2 ways to do this. One is to go to View Toolbars and Customize Templates Toolbar, or down on the Template Toolbar, the very, very first button is Customize Template Toolbar. If I click on that or use the menu option, then I get this dialog box. And what I've got here is a list of all of the toolbar buttons I've got across my template toolbar. Now, it's easy enough to add one to this list or to delete one inadvertently. You can click on any one and down near the bottom corner here, click on delete, and it'll be gone off the toolbar, but it'll still exist on your hard drive. To add one, click on add, go to the templates folder and find the particular template file that you want to add, and then click on OK. And note that you've got an abbreviation here that you can customize, and you can choose the color. And then you can change the sequence, move it up or down in the sequence on the toolbar.
Yep.
Now, that method is useful if you wanted to create a new template. Now, let's just say I wanted a new template and I wanted to maybe take Alan Hull's one, and change the bars to candles, style, but candles, and make them thicker. Apply. Yeah, that'll do. Show sector indexes ticked. That's interesting. And we note this is a weekly chart because this is a part of Alan Hull's strategy using the range plus indicator. He recommends that we put this on a weekly chart. In terms of volume, I can make those bars thicker. And the other thing I could do is change the color so that this second option, perhaps price change since previous, means that it'll be a red bar if the price has changed today compared to yesterday. Now that's different to the next option, which is price change since open, regardless of yesterday's price. Now, if you apply that with some stocks, you might see no difference, or it might be what you want. Now, the other thing I could do while we're here is make sure that the pane title bar is shown. Go to the pane properties, show title bar, show indicator parameters, abbreviate indicator names. No, don't abbreviate, and do that. Now, the appearance of this chart, I could save as a template, a new template. To do that, I can right-click somewhere and choose the option Save as Template. There's also a menu option to do the same thing. Now, I've got to make sure that it goes into, don't have a look at the particular folder structure on the left. Have a look at this name down the bottom, file name. If that's in the templates folder, that's okay. Now let's call it RB's version of Whole Act Vest. So I've saved that and I can add that to my toolbar. Go to Customise Template. Now that'll probably come up on my other window. There it is. It's hiding again. I can add, sort this by modified. There's the latest one I just created. RB Whole Act Vest. Click on Open. That gets added to the bottom. I can change the color to something that I'd rather have. Make it black maybe. Okay. Click Apply, and you'll see it appear down here. It's called RHA right at the very end. I can change that to R Alan Hull, and I can move it up the list. Apply. And it will appear, here it is, R-AH. It's as easy as that to add a new button to that template toolbar. Make sure that behind Tools Preferences, make sure that in this dialog box, there's an option here. Remember Tool Menu, Toolbar Layout, and Customizations. If that box is not ticked, then when you close BullCharts, it might not remember your change to the template toolbar. If you've changed the template toolbar, make sure that that box is ticked so that BullCharts remembers the customization. I've modified my price chart appearance. It's got indicators on it. And just to prove that it works, if I go back to my default template down on the template toolbar, not the first button, that's Customise. The second button is the default template. That is my default template, which includes the ex-dividend date vertical line for the ex-div date and the paid date. And it includes also the value pane as well as the volume pane. But if I click on down here, R-AH, it will go back to that new template that I created and added to the toolbar. If the template I've just created, if I wanted to save that as my default so that a new price chart always looks like that, then all I've got to do is right-click in a blank part of the screen and choose Set as Default. That will always be my default template. As I said, I'm not sure if you'll use a number of templates or not when you're viewing the market or the index or stocks or what your watch list or whatever, or if you're always stuck on your default template. I'm not sure. But here's what I do. But along my toolbar down here, as I put in the minutes document, I said here I've got a screenshot of a portion of my template toolbar and a list W1 to 9 of what they all are. Let me show you what they are. Down on the template toolbar, these templates that I've got, W1 down the bottom here. My W1 is simply a line chart. Keep it simple so that it's easier to see the peaks and troughs and to spot uptrends and downtrends. And in the top left corner, you can see that I'm using a daily time period here, not a weekly. And these two colored lines on the chart are moving average, exponential. They're both exponential. Pardon me. One's 50-day and the other's 200-day moving average. And the reason I've chosen those is because when I watch CNBC on TV every day at lunchtime while I'm having my lunch, if any of the so-called professional technical analysts are on the screen or commentators, CNBC commentators, and they talk about moving averages, they often refer to the 50 and the 200-day or week and say that they can seem to provide support or resistance for the stock or the market. So I started putting them on my templates a few years ago to see if that really is the case. The other thing that I've heard in recent times is that a number of algorithmic trading systems do use these two moving averages to trigger buy or sell actions in the market. Now, I'm not 100% sure. No one's yet told me that that is definitively the case, but I believe it to be the case. I'm just adjusting my screen. So that's that W1. W2 is Stan Weinstein's weekly chart, top left corner here, W for weekly. So these are weekly candles, and there's the 30-week moving average. The solid one is the simple MA, which I believe Stan was using through his book, Secrets of Profiting in Bull and Bear Markets. The dotted one is the exponential moving average, because something prompted me a few years ago to think about, is the exponential moving average more useful than the simple for these sorts of things? Now, for those of you who know Weinstein's strategy about price above or below the moving average, as well as the stage analysis at the bottom, I've got the stage analysis ribbon there. If any of you are familiar with it, then you might be able to understand what that's all about. Anyway, I like to look at Weinstein. The third one I've got down here, W3, is momentum. Now, I've never been sure whether to use the 14-period momentum like all of the sheep and follow the herd, or is it 14 or 28 that's the default? I'm never sure. I think it's 28. Or maybe it was what's that little fella's guy's name who was at the ATA conference about 15 years ago, who said that he uses 28. Anyway, I've been using 28 for years, and I wasn't sure that it was the best, so I also use 14 period. The 14 period, that's the green one. Let me delete the 28 period one and its moving average to simplify things. So this is the 14 period momentum on a weekly chart, and the smoother curve is the moving average of momentum. In bull charts, that's actually called momentum smoothed. If you wanted to insert that indicator onto your momentum, what you need to do when you insert indicator is look for momentum smoothed. It's not moving average of momentum. You could probably create your own indicator, moving average of momentum. That'd probably work. This one is called Momentum Smoothed. Anyway, that's my W3 toolbar button on the template toolbar. W4 uses Twigs Money Flow, and I've got, as it says here on the left, I've got 21 period in blue and 13 period in red. And when I started using Twigs Money Flow a number of years ago, I was never sure which one I should use. So I emailed to Colin Twiggs, who's in Queensland, and asked him, and his reply was simple. I think what he said was 13 period is useful, I think he said, for weekly charts, and the 21 period is useful on daily charts. So there you go. And since then, I've never really studied it back and forth. I've stuck with the weekly chart, so I followed the 13. W5 on my template toolbar. To view this, I need to view an index, because I've got weekly candles in the pane title bar up here. You can see I've got a daily index, XAO daily, and XAO weekly. Now the XAO daily is hidden. You can't see it. But I use that to calculate the GMMA. The Guppy multiple moving average here is calculated based on daily prices for the index, and the candles are actually weekly candles. And I found this a good combination to give me a good insight into whether the trend is a good, healthy trend or not. And you need to go back to about here to see a good, healthy uptrend on the weekly chart, where the red averages are all roughly parallel. The blues are gently compressing and expanding, and there's a gap between the group of blues and the group of reds. Now, they're the basics of what Daryl Guppy tells us about how to use his GMMA indicator. So I've got a template that does that for me. W6, the next button on that toolbar down there, are weekly candles. And in here, I'm using the candle indicator. Now, if you've not looked at it, the candle indicator has all of these different candle patterns that you can apply, tick or untick, and flag them on your chart. And I've got not all, but most of them I've got ticked, and the default style settings. And this is a weekly chart. Up in the top left corner, it says weekly. So that latest week for the week 27th of April is only 2 days old, whereas these others, except for Easter, are all 5 days or maybe 4 days old. But if you're interested in candle patterns and looking to learn more about things like 3 black crows or the significance of shaven bottoms, now there's a lot of them there, shaven head, I don't know why, but spinning tops are not flagged in bull charts, and I think dojis aren't either. So here's one that's called a long upper shadow. That's almost a doji. And these others that are spinning tops are not labelled. There's an engulfing bear, apparently. So there's the candle indicator. So I look at that and the last few. The next button on the toolbar, W7, is on balance volume and moving average of OBV, and I think I'm using a 15 period moving average of on balance volume. I find that useful. W8 is volume with 3 moving averages of volume. No, 4. A 5. This is a daily chart, daily candles. I've got a 5 period, a 10 period, a 50 period, and 200 period moving average of volume down there on volume. If you're not sure how to put a moving average on volume, when you go to insert indicator, and I do that with Control I, or you can go to, like most people do, insert indicator, Control I. And if you choose moving average, tap on the letter M to go to moving average. Find moving average of based on close or volume. You can tell it volume, style. You can tick above and below if you want. Change the color. In this case, we'll change it to red so it stands out from the others and make it super thick. And we want to make sure that it goes onto the volume pane, not the price pane, and merge with scale. So there it is, 20 period moving average in thick red on volume. That's how you add that if you weren't sure. And my W9 toolbar button on my template toolbar is a 10-minute line chart in black with the daily superimposed in blue. And what I find useful are these really sharp moves. If I change, this will help really help this to stand out. If I changed the blue line to be a candle, have a look at the height of this candle in this week, because this is a weekly chart. This is weekly, even though I've got 10 minutes as well. The height of this candle, but have a look at where the move was. The move was from the previous day's close, and it jumped up at the open and then went sideways for the day. Don't forget, with a candle, you can never know what happened during the day unless you look at an intraday chart, like 10-minute or 30-minute or 5-minute or something. And I find it useful to look for those big jumps in the 10-minute chart at the open. Very, very informative. And of course, this straight line here was Easter, the 3rd of April, Friday the 3rd, and Monday the 6th of April. That was Easter. So those are the templates that I use on a weekly basis. And I set them up years ago, added them to my toolbar, and from time to time I tweak them, change them a little bit, and make sure that they're saved as the right template name. Here endeth the demonstration. Yep.
It's there?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, we can see it. Very good. Thank you.
Look,
sorry, Alec, it's very wide and narrow. Is that the size of your screen?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got a large screen. Is it all on the screen or not?
Yes, it is. Your BullCharts window just fits perfectly. Thank you.
Okay. Look, this is, I won't go into all the detail, but you can see, as I think I've expressed earlier on previous meetings, I use this Heikin-Ashi delta indicator particularly, and this template altogether is one that I probably at the moment use more than any other. At the moment, that's showing a daily XAO. I've got the normal prices up here. This one shows the Heikin-Ashi candles. I use I use the Guppy ribbon and also a modified version of the Guppy ribbon, which I changed. As you can see, there's not a lot of difference between the two. This is the Heikin-Ashi Delta. This is a RSI. This is the momentum indicator, which you spoke about earlier. And it's also got the momentum smoothed in there as well, which was also that one that you found. And then the value of the trade each day here. So that's one that I've developed over a period of time based around the Heikin-Ashi Delta, and I use the RSI and the momentum to give me a bit of a confirmation. Normally, I like to with the Heikin-Ashi Delta, where the red line goes above the green and is above the zero line, to me is an entry point. But I also like to see the RSI above 50 in that area, and I like to see that the momentum has gone ahead of the moving average of the momentum. And basically, the two guppy indicators are just very quick. You can eyeball the thing very easily, and certainly if I'm getting a bullish indication on the guppy, even though it generally is a little bit slower than the Heikin-Ashi delta, but that just provides a bit of additional, shall I say, confirmation or support. Um, so that's all fairly straightforward.
And Alec, if I may
Yep,
say, you did a presentation a few months ago
yep,
and told us a lot more about each of those panes in the price chart. And
yep,
there's a recording of that, and I'm sure that's now up in YouTube. If anybody wants to go over the details and hear about it all in detail, have a look at YouTube because it's up there.
yeah.
Yep, go on.
Yeah, go on.
While you're there, for
Hmm.
those who are watching, if they've got a chart with a number of panes like you've got, then one other option that I'm sure you know about, but maybe other people don't know, is you can stack those indicator panes one behind the other by going to the toolbar and using, I think it's View, or you can tap the function key F3 and it'll stack them all one behind the other. I think it's
Yeah,
behind
right,
View.
right down the bottom. You're right.
Yeah, stack
Stack
indicators.
indicators. Yeah,
So if you were to do that, it would show one of those indicators and hide all the others and give you tabs across the bottom. Yeah,
yeah,
so that you've now got tabs across the bottom. So, and that's temporary. To revert that, just do it again. Go back to view and stack indicators and it'll
yeah,
unstack them and
yeah.
go back.
You're back to where you were. Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
right. So look, that's
Alec,
probably
Alec, I was just going to say the other thing that I noticed you've got is if you hover your mouse over any of the candles, then on the left-hand side, you've got the info window
yep,
docked on the
yep,
left side of your screen
correct.
to show you all of the values up and down that particular date. And for those who don't know how to do that, the info window is a button up on the toolbar towards the right-hand end, and you can dock it like you can dock the control panel, the Layer Manager, Security Manager. So that's doable for anyone who wants to do it too.
Yeah, I started doing that a few years ago, Robert, and I find having that info window visible at all times is really terrific because you can very quickly. I mean, looking at the what's that today's date, the 28th,
Mm.
you
Yep.
can immediately go. I can't move my mouse, but you can go over to open, high, lows,
Car-
low, close, and you can see the M, which is the movement for the day. So you can see that the
yes.
XAO was down by 0.621% today. And I find the ability to look at that very quickly, I find very useful.
Yes. Yes. Very good.
Uh, um,
Alec, thank you for showing that window, your template.
Can I just make a comment,
Yes, David.
just,
while you've got the layer manager there, I find it a bit of housekeeping is sometimes you might have a chart and you might have added a couple of things and then you've done what Alex done, taken them off, hidden them.
Hidden them.
But
Mm.
sometimes I think you need to probably do a bit of housekeeping and take them off if you don't use them. And I found that with a stop loss, it was then distorting because it was distorting the chart. As soon as I took it off, it was all filled up the whole panel, if that's the word I'd use. So I think from a housekeeping point of view, um, yeah, nice to be able to have that facility, but if you're not using it, probably better off to delete it.
Yeah, I agree
Yes.
with you, David. I find that layer manager is so useful and probably when you're developing a new template, particularly, I think it's very useful because you've got the opportunity to try things and oh well, if they just confuse the chart, you can ultimately delete them, but you know, while you're developing them, you can hide them and just see,
See
you
what
know,
happens. Yeah,
yeah, see what you like, see how it
yeah,
appears to you, you know.
yeah, yeah.
And further to that too, David and Alec, um, as a good example, is the Guppy multiple moving average indicator. Now, Alec, I see that in your layer manager, but it's hidden. It's
That's
not
right. Yeah.
shown. So what you could do is show that, and then for anyone who's exploring the usefulness of particular moving averages, you can untick individual ones of those and maybe look at one or two of them at a time. If
Yeah.
you might be looking for a moving average cross strategy, then you could use something like that to try to find a good cross pair and use the hide and show um,
Yeah.
for each of them. But
Yeah. I
yeah,
mean,
thanks.
on this particular template, while I'm using the ribbon that was developed from the guppy, actually having the guppy in there, I think just confuses the chart. There's
Yeah.
just too much on that panel altogether.
Yep.
So just turn it off.
Yep.
All
Yep.
right.
And that forces you to learn how to use the Guppy multiple moving average ribbon, how to
Exactly.
read it.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. Alec, thank you very much for showing
Okay.
that. If there's
I'll
no other
stop sharing
questions,
that.
back to the agenda. Um, what I intended to show next, now most of you, I think, already know about this. Uh, what I've got here is 3 price chart panes. And what I could do is, and at the moment, 2 of them are the same, and same stock, BMP, and the third one is the All Ords Index. Now, they're not all the same. If to make them all the same, I would use the button on the left, Synchronise All Chart Windows. But the one thing yeah, let's do that. Synchronise All Chart Windows to make them all DMP. And in one of those, I don't have a left-hand axis. Uh, the others do. It's easy enough to right-click there and delete axis. And if you don't like that appearance, you can always put it back later. Right-click on this one and delete axis. And what I'm want to do is put a different template onto each of those windows. So I'm putting the Weinstein one on that window weekly, and on the second one upper left, I'll make that the no, I can't make it the Guppy one. Let's look at momentum. There's momentum. And on the bottom one, maybe look at on balance volume. So if I wanted to, I could look at the same stock in different views, but using different templates in each one. And if I wanted to do that arrangement every day, that becomes a workspace, which we haven't talked about today. And it's a long time since we have, but maybe we should talk about workspaces another day. But that's one example of using specific templates and multiple charts in the window. And that's what I was referring to in the agenda, where it talks about how to have several chart windows open and applying a different template to each one, and the usefulness of the Synchronise All Chart Windows feature, as in the sample below. That one there. That's all that I've got lined up to talk about in terms of templates. Open a new window with the All Ords in it and ask you all what you think about this confined period of trading, the range boundness up here over several days. There was a small range that the All Ords index was stuck in weeks. Could have been distribution, or it could have been something else. Does anyone have views about how we could have interpreted that at the time before the fall of the last 5 days?
I think your comment's pretty right, Robert. And when you look at, say, the XJO or the XKO, there's not many stocks that are really shooting the lights out, if that's the word I'd use. And I think the uncertainty of oil and and also inflation is having a big impact. Probably, the best performers are like supermarkets, Coles and Woolies, and um, you know, there's not many really, as I say, you know, powering out of the block, so to speak.
Woolworths. Yep.
Yeah.
So, and we can thank Donald Trump for that, can't we?
Well, I think you'd also
Yes.
thank stocks like Cochlear and CSL.
Oh, yes,
They really pulled the index down.
Well,
they did.
CBA, well, all the banks as well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's been an
There's
absolute.
Cochlear.
Uh,
Yes, and you're right. CSL,
it hasn't got to the bottom yet.
$220 back in October. Yep, that's a downtrend, isn't it?
It certainly
And
is.
Alec, what was the one you mentioned? The banks.
The banks, yeah, they've been going down virtually daily.
Yeah, yeah.
Are there any new news or books or seminars or conferences? Um, Having said that, I should advertise the ATAA conference, shouldn't I? This year, the ATAA will have a an online conference in August, um, and it looks as though we don't have a link there yet. It's coming up, I think, in the third weekend of August. Anyway, the ATAA conference coming up online in August. Stay tuned for news.
Robert, just one thing. I was playing around a week or two ago with some bands as going back several years as to see what the XAO, for example, has been doing.
Yep,
And if you've got a moment, I can share a chart with you if you want to let me
yep,
share again.
yep. I'll stop sharing mine and let you share yours.
Hopefully this will come up again. Yeah. Can you see that?
It's coming. Yes, we can.
Okay. That's the XAO on a monthly chart, right?
Yes,
And
and
as you can see, we've
you're using a log scale on the
a
price
log
axis.
scale, yeah, definitely. And
Yes,
I've just gone back to, well, 1986. But as you
yes.
can see, I mean, it's not so untidy. I mean, the original band that I was looking at were these two
Mm,
lines. But then, here I thought, well,
mm,
maybe the bottom one. I know there's a couple of drop throughs here. I mean, this certainly in the early
mm.
2000s, I think we probably recognised was a bit of a bubble that occurred.
Yep.
And as you can see, then when we got to 2008, the very quick drop down,
Mm.
but it
GFC.
recovered,
Mm.
fairly quickly, went back
Yep.
to this, same line.
Yeah.
And we've sort of traded in a reasonable band. This was
Mm.
the COVID drop. And that's probably one of the most severe ones because if you look at that particular month, which was March 2020, we actually in that month dropped 21.5%. That's why I like that, info window on the left there. You can see exactly what happened in that period. And if we look at the worries that, let's
Yes.
say, we've had recently, if you look at the month of March 2026, we're only down 8%. So, oops,
Mm.
sorry. Um, so, nowhere near as bad as what, we've been through previously.
No.
And you can
Mm.
see even here, if you go to October 2008, where we
Mm.
also had a fairly severe drop, that
Mm.
was 14%, followed by the following month 8%. So, we've had some much more serious effects. This is very much staying within the band, and you can see the current month we're only down. Well, sorry, we're actually up by nearly 3% in the month of April, and still well short of hitting this top line. So I just thought that was interesting.
Yes.
You know, because you're reading a lot from some of the commentators who are, doom and gloom
Why
and
you've Alec, I was just going to say that for anyone watching who's wondering about the upper line of your trend channel
yeah,
pair and why it's placed where it is, my view of where you put that is that you've put it on the upper portion, the highs or the upper boundary of the candles, almost like the top of an uptrend line. Now we know that uptrend lines go under the price action, but in terms of a trend channel, you've put that containing most of the price action, which I think is pretty good.
yeah. I mean, you've got all that sort of, the various. If you look over your toolbar here to the left, all I've done is use the parallel lines and taken
Yep.
that up through there. But you've got so many different tools here that you can use that are extremely useful, particularly things like this trend ruler, which I
Yes.
think you've spoken about before, is extremely useful
Yes.
in these things. Anyway, I just thought I'd share that was just something that surprised me actually. I thought it would be more erratic than that.
Yes. But on a monthly chart, you're right.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's conforming fairly well, except for the minor excursions outside the smaller channel.
yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Alec, thank you for that. Uh, Thank you everyone for your interest tonight and participation. I'll stop the recording shortly. Thank you everyone.